Hi guys, welcome to the ImAssuming podcast. This is Ija Mohan, and today we have James Chong. I know him as Wall Baby. James, man, thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Okay, I think the podcast is called I'm Assuming only because I think it's a take on our assumptions. And I've known you, I think many years ago, and I would have never guessed somebody like you comes from a finance background. and I'm sure you have mentioned it a couple of times, but it took me looking at your LinkedIn to realize
Uh,
that this guy's got a solid financial background.
oh well, it was a long time ago. Yeah.
So is that something that you get that from people, like they look at you and they're like, oh, you have a finance background? Does that, or is that an assumption, or
Yeah. Well, people tend to be surprised. Usually they said, you're in marketing, you're in creative, or you're in branding, or something else. Or you're just a bum. I don't know what they think, but usually accounting doesn't come into mind. Audit doesn't come into mind. And that's very interesting because there's a certain expectation of how an accountant like or a creative person looks like, right? And That's just how that's part of what we assume, and
okay? Do you think we are? Do you think it is a common stereotype where an accountant is nerdy affair? Well, I don't know. It's a nerdy, antisocial kind of character. Is your typical accountant? Is that a stereotype? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's a stereotype. That's not true. It's just that I think a lot of people have met when you're a certain type of personality, I guess, you tend to gravitate towards certain career paths.
right.
And but that's just it. And doesn't mean that everybody who ends up being an accountant is a certain way, or anybody who is creative is not is expected to be flamboyant or whatever like that. So I think all these are just general assumptions.
Okay. I mean, and I feel really stupid because my wife's an auditor. She's been an auditor for 13 over years.
And she's
And
cool.
yeah, she's very
Yeah.
cool, right?
Yeah.
She's way too cool for me. I will never tell her that. But so in that case, I've already experienced that assumption and I know it not to be true, but
Uh-huh.
somehow I still kind of didn't apply it to other people, right? I mean, the sense that looking at your LinkedIn and I'm like, whoa, James has a solid finance background. Man, I would have never thought James is an accountant, right? In a sense. So it's weird that even with assumptions, when I'm proven wrong, it doesn't seem like I'm kind of applying it to, generalizing it to others. So it seems to be a very, I'm wrong about case A, not necessarily about case B.
I don't think you're necessarily wrong. We tend to have it's easier for our brains basically to categorize people and to have certain assumptions, right? So if you meet somebody or and they look a certain way, we would automatically assume they fit into a certain category and they have certain traits. That's easier for us to categorize
Right.
the world around us. And I think and our brain does that because imagine if we had to get to know or understand a thing from 0 to 100 every single time. And so we make assumptions, and it shortcuts the process. It
Right.
allows us to arrive at a conclusion quicker, but that doesn't mean the conclusion is right. Yeah.
So okay, how do you? Okay, if I were to, I understand what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we spoke about it before as well. And yeah, I think it's a way of, like we were saying, it's a survival mechanism, right? For us to, we do make assumptions about things, and it helps us, decide faster and all that. So when it comes to people, at what point do we have to say, okay, this is kind of like my assumptions, and at what point do we draw a line and say like, but maybe I kind of don't know the whole story, or maybe I need to re-look at this. Do we need to do that, or when do we do that?
I think it's not just about people, right? And not all assumptions are wrong. It just basically helps us function better a lot of times. Uh, like if we have a certain experience in certain things, and we tend to think a certain way and assume, that's not necessarily wrong.
Right.
It's just maybe a predisposition towards a certain view.
Okay.
The problem comes when a predisposition becomes certainty.
Okay.
So even if you, let's say if I meet you and like I've people have looked at me and thought I look like a bouncer, and all
Story of
that,
my
I'm
life.
a gangster, or whatever like that, right? Okay, maybe it's like, okay, the guy looks like a bouncer, like a gangster, but don't conclude based on that. Just keep an open mind that that person could be something else. But at the back of your mind, you say, yeah, okay, there's a 60% chance that this person is certain things, but let's give that 40% chance and get to know the person. Okay. What happens though, a lot of times is that 50 to 60% assumption tends to be 100% certainty. We just because it's like that, he must be like this, right?
I think one of the things that
he or she, by the way.
Yeah, of course. I think one of the things you mentioned, and I, James, I do regret not recording earlier, because I think we spent a lot of time talking about a lot of things before even the podcast started.
It was fun.
Yeah,
right?
it was. And I think one of those things that you mentioned was you corrected me a couple of times. I think when I was trying to say right or wrong, right, in the sense that even when it comes to assumptions, when we make an assumption on something, we tend to think that's correct or that is right, and in the sense that it's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just different. You know what I mean? So I think when I have a habit of assuming, and then when somebody kind of challenges the assumption, suddenly it becomes confrontational because it is right versus wrong per se, even though it is not, right? And I think one of the things that you mentioned, I think you rightfully corrected me a couple of times, was that it's not necessarily about being right or wrong. It's just, it's different, right?
Well, the first thing I want to say is I didn't correct you in a way.
Okay.
I basically just shared an alternative view of looking at the thing, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know whether I'm right,
Okay.
but basically both of us are talking and say, hey, we look at things this way and look at things this way, and both of us should be able to come to a conclusion. You know what, Ija? I think, yeah, we both think that this should be the way. So I don't think I corrected you so much as in saying that, hey, there's another way to look at this, and when that fact or that view is shared, if our minds are open, it could either prove you could be correct or I'm wrong, or we can both arrive at a conclusion and say, you know what, both of us actually suck at this. We got it wrong, dude.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good thing because now we know that we got it wrong, and we can try to make it right. So and that's why when just now when you were saying about our discussions and having civil discourse and discussion, and the reason for this podcast, I think it's a brilliant idea because there's a certain lack of it.
Okay.
And to talk like this as friends, and to open up requires a certain sense of a willingness to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
To be wrong.
Yeah.
To say that, hey, I could be wrong and I could learn something, and yeah, I find that difficult, especially on social media nowadays, the way I see it, and even in the press.
I mean, when it comes to social media, it's very difficult to kind of like witness. I mean, I try not to engage, but so I kind of lurk on social media and follow a few interesting people and kind of witness, sometimes there's a possible discourse, but the discourse almost never happens, right? It is point of view versus point of view versus point of view versus point of view, and it doesn't feel like anybody's actually trying to listen and learn or understand the other side. And we are going. I think even when we talk about social media, I feel like we are stepping even out of our comfort zone, in the sense that, in my own life, I feel that we don't even have that level of comfort, with our parents sometimes, right? Like you were mentioning that you were very fortunate to have a good relationship with your mom, and you were very comfortable talking to one another. Not everybody has that, right? And I believe I have a good relationship with my mom, but even sometimes I come to realize that, there are things that we don't talk about, right? And there are things that I might assume about her, and she assumes about me, and maybe I don't have a reason on why we don't talk about it, but it just seems like it's something that we don't talk about. And I think that kind of applies to a lot of our relationships, whether it's domestic or at work, or even just social with our friends, where we tend to assume a lot about people.
Yeah, and it's not easy to make that effort to verify the assumptions.
Okay.
And a lot of times also, I believe, it's what's your objective at the end of the day in engaging with somebody. There are basically two objectives. Okay. One is to get things right, and the other is to be right.
So you mean get things right is like try to understand?
Yes. So you want to basically, do you want to get it right, or do you want to be right? So if you want to be right, you're always on the defensive position, right?
So is it about the issue, or is it about you, so to speak, right?
Yeah, because sometimes, because one of the biggest fears that we have as human beings, I believe, is the fear of being wrong, right? Which I think is so silly, because when you're wrong and you accept it, that's how you can get better at things. But a lot of times we feel that if we are wrong, it actually affects our sense of self, our self-worth, or just that people will look at us with like, yeah, he's wrong, he's not good enough, or he's dumb, and there's this fear. So we want to be right. We tie our opinions or to our pride and our personality and an ego, which I just want to bring this up, because this was also an interesting conversation I had, because all of us have opinions,
right?
Okay,
absolutely.
all right, and the value of an opinion is based on how much facts and evidence and that can back it up. For example, my opinion, and there's a unicorn out there that's spewing rainbows. It's my opinion.
Right.
All my opinion is that what you're doing isn't working. And you might have an opinion, no, it's not unicorn, it's a buffalo, and what I'm doing is working, right? So when you argue over opinions, you'll never get anywhere,
right?
Because the fact is, it must be backed up.
Yeah.
And
so you technically cannot argue over facts, because facts are facts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So for example, I can have an opinion that gravity does not apply to me. Okay, and I can fly, right?
Right.
But facts are gravity applies.
Yeah.
So as long as we move towards facts, I think a lot of this discourse will be reduced, because we tend to have opinions. We fight at the assumption level,
right?
Like oh, all men are like that, all women are like that, all refugees are like that, all immigrants are like this.
Right.
So that's an opinion. It's not based on facts,
right?
But we tend to want our opinions to be facts, or position them as facts, and that's when where discussions actually go sideways, man.
So I mean, I think there's a couple of things I want to tackle there, right? I think number one would be, I think that there's a greater problem where there is probably a huge assumption that facts are debatable, right?
Mhm.
That means, I mean, it's nowhere highlighted more than what's going on in the US right now, right? But the Democrats and the Republicans, they are basically, highlighting their own facts, and they are totally debunking each other's facts, and it's very hard to watch, because it is, you assume that there's, at that level of, even politics in the US, you would think
Mm.
there has to be some kind of integrity, on both sides, right? Where you can't be just flat out lying about certain things, and we are saying that, even I mentioned that, we can't debate facts, but it looks like that debating facts seems to be a norm, and they are offhand just throwing it off to, oh, fake news, right? Somebody says a fact, it's like, oh, that's fake news, because the fact was said by an agency I don't agree with, or a media company that I don't agree with, or an expert that I don't agree with, so it's fake news. So even I think Dave Chappelle says this is the age of the spin, right? So even facts are just spun as fake news, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Donald Trump is a maestro at doing it so many times.
He's the man.
I mean, he has cried fake news so many times that everything is fake news, right? In the sense that there's no sense of reality when it comes to the media landscape in the. I mean, I think we are maybe moving a bit too far, but I just feel like, related to what we are talking about, facts seem debatable now. Like,
Well, I think the common ground, the first thing is we should agree that facts should not be debatable. Okay, and second thing is, certain things we take as facts, just like science, right? Okay, eventually can be debunked if we find out new information.
Right.
But what we have to agree that, for example, the sun actually rises from the east. We have to agree on that fact, right? But those are facts that are obvious, of course. But I think when we are allowed to take liberty with facts, and the fact that or that there could be alternative facts, okay,
alternative facts.
all right,
I love
right,
that.
okay, and if we're allowed to do that, essentially we are allowed to basically create a reality for ourselves that is not in sync with what's real, and lying is an important part of that. Like you mentioned Trump, all right? He's the man, because, dude, he lies like a champion.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. But and a champion lies thinking that he's not lying. Okay. And a lot of times that so you look at the fact that, like, I look at this and it's like, this an orange. No, it's an apple. No, it's an apple. You can do that, right? Okay, all right. And one and you say that with enough conviction, and people start thinking, it's like, it could be an apple disguised as an orange, Yeah, but what is an apple anyway? What is so when we're allowed to get away, people are allowed, especially in positions of authority, to lie incessantly and to basically not be accountable for what they say. You get this distortion. You're right, and this distortion is suddenly, it's like, oh, scientists who rely on facts cannot be trusted, because facts cannot be trusted. And that gives you basically free rein to create your own reality, despite what's happening out there. And I think that's dangerous, of course, but it's also very interesting, because this is what's happening in the world today.
Yeah. And to a certain degree, I think, you can see, I think, parts of it appearing outside of America as well, right? I mean,
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Just look at Malaysia, man. We shall not go into it, okay? But facts seem to state that billions were stolen.
Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah.
But alternative facts
Yeah.
could say that, but it was donated. Or, we don't know. But
and side A believes in fact A, and side B believes in fact B, and
And like what we're saying is like it's no one is stupid. I see a lot of arguments that because you support this you're stupid or what. No, I think fundamentally, I mean the fact that most people who disagree with each other can talk, can write, can actually articulate their point of view. So we're not stupid. Nobody is stupid, even if they're against. They hold a separate view against you, right? But I do believe there are reasons beyond facts that make people choose not to believe certain things and believe certain things.
I think I mentioned earlier like the two things I want to tackle on that, and of course number one is that the whole idea that facts are we have alternative facts and all that. But I think the second part, and probably the part which I'm probably more interested in talking to you, is you seem to be a very level-headed person when it comes to looking at issues. I mean, I'm not saying you're right or wrong, right? But you seem to...
It's fake news.
So, and I think one of the reasons that probably I wanted to have this conversation with you is you don't seem so quick to brush away point of views and so on, right? And a part of me thinks that, okay, what if more of us are more open to other ideas, right? So if I were to circle back to you, if I were to ask you, were you always like this? Were you always very open and accepting of other ideas? Is this you by nature?
Wow, I don't really know how to answer that, honestly speaking. I never thought of myself as like, I can't even remember the word you used to describe me, right? So I can't remember, right? But one thing about me, I've recently, especially in the last maybe 10 years or 15 years, it's my curiosity that's been driving me, and the sense that like I might think something is like this, okay, and I have my arguments to back it up. But at the back of my mind, I always keep in mind that, but I could still be wrong. So I want to listen. I want to keep an open mind, because if I'm wrong, that's a win for me, because that means I learned something new, right? Okay, and like for example, we may conclude. Sometimes we conclude on certain things, right? Let's say we have 5 pieces of information, and we conclude that this is the case, right?
Okay.
But if another person comes in and throws another 3 pieces of new information that we were not aware of,
right?
Okay, it's good, because suddenly it's like, whoa, if I'm looking at in total all 8 pieces of information right now, will I still have the same conclusion? And I like that. I like the fact that I could grow, and that, because I've seen this. I mean, you look at an object a certain way.
Yeah.
I was watching this series the other day, Dark, okay? And there was this inspector that was saying it's like 8 or 10 people who look at an elephant from different angles will tell you what an elephant is in 8 different ways.
Okay.
But a person who is allowed to look at the same person, look at an elephant in 8 different angles, this person would be able to tell the most accurate rendition of what an elephant is, right? And I thought that was like, wow.
So
the Germans are good, you know.
I got to watch this show. So if I'm trying to get my caveman brain to wrap around the idea,
you are no caveman good. Look at this setup.
I mean, in the sense that, so I think, if I were to simplify it for myself, if somebody was standing in front of an elephant and just looking at its trunk and say like, oh, an elephant is being with a huge trunk, and somebody's at the back and it's got a big ass.
That's no trunk. That's just a tail.
Yeah.
You know?
So what, it's kind of like, you don't have the whole picture.
You don't have the whole picture.
And you might be looking at the same thing, but you're not seeing what it is for what it is. You are not wrong per se.
You're not wrong.
But you don't have the whole picture.
Yes. So in this case, 8 or 10 people who look at an elephant from different angles, they're all correct,
Right.
right? They're all right, okay?
Yeah.
Except that the information is incomplete to conclude that an elephant only has a tail and has no trunk, or an elephant has trunk and no tail, depending on where you're looking at it, right? So
and telling somebody who has only seen trunk about a tail is fake news, right? It's like there's no tail.
So I think one of the most things I enjoy the most, I guess, I like is to listen to see, because at the end of the day, no matter how much I read or study or talk to people, I could only be seeing, let's say, 30% of the picture.
Right.
Okay, 40% of the picture, maybe. Okay, if I try really hard, right? And it'll be good to engage with someone who's have seen the balance, what I haven't seen, and keep an open mind that is possible, right? And then arrive at a conclusion together. But sometimes it's also hard, because when you listen and the other party keeps insisting that their view is the entire view.
Okay.
Right? And that's when it gets difficult, because they've stuck that no, an elephant has no trunk, no eyes. I just saw the tail, and it just has a big ass tail, and that's it. So that's when discussions actually
now that okay, if you don't mind me saying, I mean, hearing you describe it, I know I know you're not plugging the show and what and all that, but hearing you say it and kind of just listening to it, the silliest thought that pops into my head is, given that example that you just gave, right? You were saying that 8 people in 8 different viewpoints, and it takes one person to look at the whole picture. And then the stupid part of my brain kind of says that, how often does any of us get to see the whole picture, right?
That's not stupid at all.
And the even sillier one, or may I say the naive part of me now, is saying that, hey man, wouldn't it be cool that if those 8 people with that 8 different viewpoints sat down and kind of like talked to each other and came up with the whole picture together, as opposed to relying on one person to. And the naive part of me is like, yeah, isn't that what we are supposed to be doing, with the government and with society and with everything, right? I mean, we have a kind of distributed community or society, in the sense that we have experts who know about certain things and other things, and we all are supposed to be coming together with the holistic, kind of like looking at an elephant. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. Or is, why do we still feel like there's opposing views, opposed to people saying like, hey, you're interested in this, I'm interested in this, instead of arguing with one another? Shouldn't we try and come together and get the whole picture, so to speak? It kind of sounds very simplistic, but I'm just trying to get that elephant analogy to work in my head. I'm like,
I guess it a few things over here. Earlier I mentioned about it's simplistic. I stole this line, by the way. It's not my line, right? I read it and it's like, whoa, this is it, right? And it's guided me since. At the end of the day, when we go into a discussion, is our objective to see, to understand completely how the elephant really looks like, okay, in 3D? Or is it to establish that we are not wrong, we are right, and our opinion is the one that matters, okay? And and the rest, no. And that comes to me, happens a lot because we tie our opinions to our sense of self-worth a lot of times, right?
Right.
There are a few big fears in our lives, okay? Fear of the unknown, and fear of not being loved, and fear of but one of the biggest fears is fear of being wrong and being judged for being wrong, right? So when we tie that and to our own sense of self-worth, that's when it's very hard to let go. We dig in our heels. Okay, if even in when evidence is shown
Right.
to that we definitely made a wrong call, it's not easy for us to say, damn it, yeah, I was wrong, right? And it's not easy because we fear being judged.
Okay.
There's a campaign, I think, in the US that says that, it's okay to be wrong, to change your mind. A lot of people said, oh, you keep changing your mind. Now, keep changing your mind, and that's a very interesting thing, because when I was working and like I dealt with agencies, I dealt with corporates and all that because of my background. So there's an often quote saying the client keeps changing their mind. They don't know what they want.
Right.
That quote is always and funnily enough, when you look at it, there are actually two types of mind changes. One is changing your mind when the same amount of facts are available.
Okay.
The second is changing your mind when new information is available.
Okay.
Right? If you keep changing your mind that this thing, first is red and orange is blue or whatever like that, then you're changing your mind on the same facts. But if something new is introduced and you say, whoa, what we thought of would work previously may not work because now we have this piece of information, right?
Okay.
And that's a different type of changing minds. But I think they are conflated together in the sense that and a negative label is put on it. It's like, you don't know what you want, man. You keep changing your mind. So it becomes a negative thing. So if we do change our mind, or even worse, change our mind and admit that we were wrong in the first place, we will get looked down upon as someone who doesn't know what they want. Okay? And I think that's not true at all. Because we as humans are meant to constantly change. At one point in time, it's like science. At one point in time, we might think certain things, but as new evidence comes in, we have to change our mind and evolve, right? And that's the only way we evolve. But if somebody says that science is bad because it's been proven wrong for so many times, which it has, because we keep evolving, then that's not a good call. That's not a true view of it. It cannot be seen as a negativity that makes science worthless. So when we change our minds, I think it's okay, but a lot of us still tie that fear of being seen as not knowing what we want or not being smart enough to our self-worth, and that's, I think we stop saying. I think that makes it difficult for us to say that yes, we were wrong, and yet that is the most empowering thing I have come across. The ability to say, I was wrong. Because that opens up the door to growth. And it's very hard, but yet it's one of the most important, I think, most empowering and things.
You mentioned earlier that, I think echoing the same point that you mentioned earlier, that 10 to 15 years ago, and then you have this realization that if you're proven wrong, you're like happy about it, right? You're mentioning that you want to be proven wrong, in the sense that that's how you grow, right?
It's learn. A duality, because it's like when you've been proven wrong, you get a hit of, damn it, stupid guy. How can you think that? You get that internal slap. At the same time, to me, because I never felt being wrong defined me as a person, or maybe my mom taught me this, like, if you're wrong, wrong lah, then once you're wrong, now that you know you're wrong, get it right, so
but were you in that sense, that when you mentioned that, if you're given the time frame, so if we were to visit James 20 years ago, because I think this realization of, what, I would love to be proved wrong so I can learn and grow. Man, I think that's very rare. I think I don't think it is by default in our nature. I don't think it's a default nature to like being proven wrong, right? I think we will say we like to learn things, but we don't want to be proven wrong in the process of learning things. I mean, it is not a fun feeling, I guess. But so what, in the sense that, how did this realization come about that being wrong is okay, or how did you evolve to become the person that kind of enjoys or looks at being wrong as not a bad thing, in the sense that?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. Okay, so
I think
maybe because I've been wrong
okay.
a number of times, and I've made wrong calls.
Okay.
I've made mistakes, and the first thing that you want to do, the response is either not admit to it, because once you admit to it, your ego takes a blow, right? Your ego takes a blow, and the second part, if you you start feeling like, damn it, you don't even feel good about yourself because you basically made a mistake, right? Okay, right? And you can keep beating yourself about it, and you lose self-confidence and all that. Maybe after a while I realized that every time I screwed up, I learned something and applied it so that I don't screw up the same way again, right? And when I applied it, I screw up in new areas, but I don't really screw up in the same thing again, right? Yeah. And I actually feel myself growing, in the sense that it's like a minefield, and I've got blown up 10 times already. Oh, okay, all right. So I'll make sure I'm not going to walk around that area. I know something new now. I know something that I didn't know before, right? And I could do things better than I could do it before I made those mistakes.
Would it be a stretch? I mean, would it be a stretch to say that it is an understanding that to pursue success, or to pursue whatever achievement that we're looking for, you need to be wrong. You need to be wrong, learn from the mistakes, make mistakes, learn from the mistakes, correct those mistakes, in order to become successful or good at something.
First of all, I don't think you need to be wrong.
Okay.
You will be wrong.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So whether you need it or not,
whether you like it or
not, we will get things wrong.
Right.
Okay, and we will screw things up, right? And that's, I think that's when we learn the most about ourselves, about our capabilities, about what we understand of the world. That's of our opinions, right?
So if we were to reverse that, it might not be a popular opinion. If you were to reverse that and saying, do we learn as much from our successes versus our mistakes?
Oh, I think we learn a lot more from our mistakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody who who gets something by sheer luck. I'm not saying that people are that, but you get something right the first time, they're not learning as much as somebody who's probably failed a countless time before that. I mean, like, okay, we take the most favorite example, right? Like the Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Okay.
So the popular opinion among even like some of the investors I talk to is that this guy is probably not going to invent. If he had to do it all over again, he's probably not going to invent something else. It was a home run on strike one, first hit, home run, great job. But it doesn't look like he can repeat it. We don't know whether he can repeat it because this just worked out so well. So in that sense, he's not a seasoned entrepreneur per se who has stumbled, got back up, stumbled, got back up. I mean, these are my assumptions.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I see it slightly differently.
Okay.
Okay. Failing is not, or making mistakes is not a badge of honor.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Okay.
It's not a badge of honor.
Mm.
And if you get it right the first time, damn it, and it was like a perfect confluence of the stars and a perfect storm, and all the things happen. And in a way, that happened with Facebook, because before that there was Friendster, there was Multiply,
Right.
and Facebook just hit it right. A lot of things is timing and things like that, right? Yeah, he got it right. Okay, the first time, but I'm sure he's made a lot of mistakes too since then.
Right.
And he's used those lessons to tweak and improve Facebook into what it is today. And he's still doing. Like, for example, right now, basically Facebook is bringing down governments and electing despots and all that kind of stuff, right? But and he's still learning. And that's when I think it's that earlier, the example that you gave about an entrepreneur who like failed 10 times before he made it big, and an entrepreneur that made it big on the first time, right? I think a lot of it is based on just sheer luck. But they will both need to grow, and they will both make mistakes, right? And sheer luck, and also effort, right? So I don't think making mistakes is a badge of honor, but I do think admitting to mistakes, and that is the first step to wanting to be better. And from what I see, what I understand, people who tend to have more sustainable success are people who are invested in sort of perpetual growth for themselves, and that comes from admitting when they got it wrong, so they can find new ways of getting it right. That's how I see.
Or the fact that they don't know everything, and it's a process of continuously growing, right?
Yes. Okay. And the other thing is, like Facebook now, billions of valuation, the first centi-billionaire, I mean, not first, the third, centi-billionaire, it's just such a funny word, right? Centi-billionaire, like
they need differentiation at the top, right? Like, we are not
how
the same
much
billionaires.
money does
Everybody.
one man need? I mean, I don't know. Okay. But there's also, I think there's also a very narrow definition of success. If you're an entrepreneur, and if your only success, your gauge of your success as an entrepreneur is how much valuation that something you brought up, or whether you turn up to be a unicorn or whatever like that. I think that's very narrow. That's what the measure of success that the public or the industry would put on you. But I think another important measure of success as individually is how much you grow and you be better since on an ongoing basis. I mean, if Mark Zuckerberg got it right on Facebook, and he just stopped after year 2 and said, "I'm the man. I know everything. I'm the god of social media. Okay, I'm gonna go and play golf right now." And if he did that, Facebook wouldn't be what it is today.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the sense, I think this whole question of our measure of success is I think that's a rabbit hole on its own. and if I can express an opinion, it is something that is so subjective, because we have discussions even among friends, right? And then even among friends, we have very different ideas of success. Sometimes success is having a beautiful house. You have bought a house for yourself, or having this investment saving. Or sometimes success is having a family. Or sometimes success is doing this project or making this idea come true. And it is so different for so many different people. But at the same time, I don't think we talk about those subjective ideas of success, because I think currently the accepted idea of success is still very much material. I mean, I believe I'm in the rat game, so I'm not talking about it as an outsider, but I'm talking about it as somebody who participates in this thing that I don't quite understand. In a sense that, why don't we talk about success in other ways, right?
Well, I think a lot of it also has to do with how we are told, what we are told that what success means, what wealth means, what 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 are the most important things in life. I think to me, for example, success is when you get to walk or be on the path that you want to be, that you're most at peace at, and your heart basically says, I want to be on this road. I want to do these things, right? I think success is when you're able to do the thing that you actually feel for and want, right? And the freedom and ability to do it, right? For example, I think this, what you're doing right now is to me is a definition of success, because how many people can actually set up a studio like that? Actually,
or turn their wife's
yeah,
wardrobe
exactly. Okay. and how many people can actually say, hey, I want to do a podcast. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll learn everything I need to learn on YouTube, and I'll find my way. And how many people can actually sit down on a weekday at what time is it right now, working hours, and just talking like this,
right,
with not much worries or whatever like that? To me, that's one of the measures of success, right? So but we don't really talk about it, or don't really see it that way, because I think a lot of us are taught that if you don't have a certain amount of money, a position, recognition, a family, children, or whatever that money can buy, or what, then you're not successful. I don't believe in that. I think the most successful people are the ones who are most at peace with themselves, right? And and some really, I mean, people who have achieved success in terms of like positions and money and all that, and I've seen people who are not entirely at peace. They there's always something missing. That's so what you do is you spend a lot of money to fill up that hole, maybe, or you're constantly living up to people's expectations. You're a CEO, you should dress like this, you should do like this, and you're an accountant, you should be a CFO, and after that you should be something. There are a lot of expectations that people put on you, okay, and if you follow these expectations and you make a lot of money and you get a lot of material wealth, to me that does not necessarily equate success.
I think we seem to have similar viewpoints on this, in the sense that, but I don't
Thank
think
God
it's
for that.
so we don't have to fight today. But I don't believe it is a common. I don't believe it's a common enough viewpoint, because I think a very difficult conversation I've had with my wife and even my mom, because I've taken some huge risks in my life when it comes to, especially to work and all that, and it's very hard to justify someone from a place of common sense and from a financial clarity, right? And so, in the sense that it's my burden to bear, and to a certain extent, them being in my life, they I think they worry that, oh man, why you're doing this, why are you taking this on, it's going to make you unhappy, blah blah blah.
It shows that they care about you and they love you.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And I think what the best way I could articulate, especially to my mom and my wife, is that the decisions that I've made, or that I continue to make now, if God forbid anything will happen to me and I was to drop dead tomorrow, I would consider myself a happy person
Yeah.
because I've been doing things that I want to do, exploring things that I want to explore. I might not have achieved the goals that I've set up.
You wouldn't be the person you are today.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and in the sense that, and I think that goal is a rabbit that you'll never catch. In the sense that today I might be, I'm going to work up to get $1 billion payout and buy a Ferrari. And then when I get a Ferrari, like, man, I want a yacht. And when I get a yacht, I'm like, man, I want an island. And you want to buy a country. And it never ends, right? You want to buy Mars. And
Well, that's I don't know whether this analogy is a good analogy, right? So we buy a computer to get something done, right? Okay, but when the goal becomes the computer, how much power it has and all that, rather than what the computer allows you to do,
That's
okay,
beautiful.
then
Yeah,
that's where the focus is. Oh, the guy with the biggest computer with the highest processor or biggest amount of RAM is the man, is success. No, actually, because some guy maybe that's just with a teeny weeny laptop has managed to actually do what you were like building up your computer to do. And I think like all the wealth and money on that, what at the end of the day, what are we trying to achieve? We are I mean, to me, I could be wrong, right? We want to achieve a sense of
meaning, you want to get some kind of significance.
So again, I ripped this off a book. So I read and it says this: the fundamental human need, despite whatever we think is we want to feel that the world is a slightly better place because we're in it. That we have an impact, that we matter. Okay? And how we matter is actually depending on where our heart or path is. That is becomes our purpose. Okay? So whichever way that we achieve that, right? So I kind of lost my train of thought because you're making me think so much.
Sorry,
man.
James. It was
it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, right?
Yeah.
And
no, I think what you were saying, if you don't mind me pushing back a little bit, I think you're 100% definitely on the money when you say that we want to matter. In the sense that I think we all want to know that we matter to someone, to something. We want to know our existence makes sense in a way. But I think where I would push back is I don't know if everybody wants to make the world a better place. I think those are two different ideas, in the sense that one is an egocentric, I matter, I'm who I am, I matter, I'm important, right? And that's it caters to our ego. And the idea of we want to make the world a better place. I think that's
different. It's different.
It's very beautiful. I would like to think, and if I'm frank with you, James, that's not me. And by default, I wasn't someone who woke up thinking I want to make the world a better place, right? I had no intention of making it a worse place, but the world was not my problem. But where I put in the but is actually the path that I have taken in my life. There's been so many people that have come into my life and made my life better simply by being in it. And I don't mean by this is just their love shine. No, I mean like they helped me in so many ways that I can't even describe, right? That now I'm forced to think that way. I mean, like, man, I'm here today is because
they inspired you.
Yeah, all these people kind of decided to go out of their way to help me. So if I am not going to go out of my way to help somebody else, then what's the point? But that is only because there has been good people who has come into my life, and I'm like, man, if I don't do something with this, I'm not honoring their act, right?
That's a very good way of thinking.
Yeah, but by default, the only reason I push back is I know even my own character, by default, the world was not my problem. It's I wanted to go get everything I wanted, and I probably would not make the world a worse place,
Mm-hmm.
but the world was not my problem.
Uh, 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 just to clarify, and maybe I just understand. What was I mentioned earlier was basically that we want the world to be slightly better because we are here, right? It doesn't mean the entire planet, because we want to matter, and it can come out in ways like I raise a child. Okay, I make my wife happier. I provide for my parents because I'm here. They can eat better, they can sleep better, and all. So it's not about the world and saving. Okay. So I see where you mean. I'm not a bleeding heart guy. It's like, oh, let's hug a tree. No, I'm not that. I'm just saying that and that seems to be the fundamental need. Okay, of like a purpose. Okay, and for existence, right? And that usually that we do have an impact. Someone who has no impact at all, okay, in a way feels empty because I think they feel that empty because they're not meeting their purpose and all that.
Okay.
And sometimes that goes the other way around, because if you really feel empty and you lack a purpose and you want to make a difference, and you're not making a difference in the way that you want, you take the shortcut.
Yeah.
Right? And you do some really evil things because you left a mark. Right? So but fundamentally, I think, and I agree with what this author said, I can't remember the name, is that we do want to leave it a bit better. And usually that happens beyond ourselves, in the sense that we want to make it better for someone else. It could be someone close to you and all that kind of stuff. We want to make it better for someone else. So that entails going beyond ourselves and looking beyond ourselves. So that is that I know we just God, we need drinks, man. We need drinks. So where's your whiskey?
It's probably waiting for us outside. if I mean, yes, we have kind of take a roundabout, and in a sense that I think one of the things that I want to talk to you about, and I think we probably got too excited talking about these other things, is actually you've had a very colorful career in the sense that, you know, it is not your typical corporate guy kind of career, and I just wanted to, you know, there are things in there where you have worked on with Asia during the early days.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I mean, how early are we talking about?
No. I worked with Tony. Tan Sri Tony Fernandez.
We don't have to be. Okay. Fine.
When he was trying to buy over Asia.
Oh, this is like
Yeah.
as early as
So
goes.
that this was in the late just before year 2000, I think.
How did you get into the mix of things?
So I was an auditor.
Okay.
So I spent about 6.5 years in Ernst & Young. Okay. So part of one of my audit jobs was actually I was the auditor for the first Anugerah Industry Music.
Wow.
Which Tony created, if I'm not
when
mistaken,
he was
right?
with Warner.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So someone has to audit the judges, sort of
tabulate the scores.
you know, like the Grammys.
Okay.
Some guy will walk out and we're the auditors, and these are the results. Yeah, something like that, but less glamour.
Okay.
So that's how I got to know Tony and the others back then in the music industry.
Okay.
And as we went along, I left Ernst & Young. I was on my own as a financial consultant.
Okay.
So I did some work for Warner. I did some work for other stuff, and that's when
if I were to just interject a little bit, what made you leave? I mean, gainful employment to be a financial advisor?
That was
I mean,
that was interesting.
It seems like a big decision. I mean,
I was naive.
Okay.
I was younger and naive, much younger. And what happened was I was offered a job. Okay, funnily enough, by the CEO of a music label.
Wow.
And he said that, James, I need you to come in. This is to be our CFO, of course, accounting, right? Okay, so be our CFO. I need you immediately. Okay, I'm changing. I'm doing this and doing that and all this kind of stuff. And I said I have to give like notice to to the firm, and says no, you give it now because I need you urgently and all this kind of stuff. So Mr. Naivete, said, "Oh, he's a CEO, man, so I believe his word." So I attended, and lo and behold, after that he got kicked out. So he got kicked out. But so Malaysia, and what I didn't know was he was at odds with regional, and regional in a way kicked him out, and he was trying to hire people to be on his team, but he was team on going out, right? So cut long story short, I left Ernst and I didn't have a job.
Fuck. I mean,
yeah,
literally.
Yeah. So what I did was, and back then, of course, it's not now like you can work anywhere, or so I remember I just sat down and I said, okay. Of course, I was heartbroken. It's like,
no, it's devastating.
Devastated, right? Okay. I got lied to, So, and back then there was Fridays TGIF, right? In section 14, I go there all the time. I'll drink my coffee with my computer and sit down and say that, okay, what am I gonna do now? What jobs am I gonna apply for now? And I remember I said, you know what? I'm not going to go through that again. Because it's like I have this thing like, God, it's like, you know what? I'll just provide my services to people who need it.
Okay.
And maybe I can help them, or maybe I can do certain things for them that with my experience in audit and accounting that I could. And so it started from there. I just called up people and said, hey, would you like to help work on this, or do you need this, or what? This is what I can do, or whatever like that. I just made cold calls. I was sitting in Fridays and calling, and refill coffee because you only pay once.
Don't I know
sat there for hours until those guys know me when I come in. It's like, James, coffee? Yeah. And I pay 1 cup of coffee and they'll refill it the whole day. They're the best guys in the world, right? So yeah, and that's how it started.
And how did that lead to getting involved with Asia at that point?
I did projects, and Warner called me back to do some projects also, forecasts and all this kind of stuff. And I've always kept in touch with Tony, and that's when then he shared his idea about taking over, and he needed some basically build a business model. So back then I was a bit of a Excel whiz. So it's like if then else, and all the formula and all that. So I helped build the first model for a hub and spoke model from KL. Basically,
what's a hub and spoke model?
Okay, so before this is all long haul flights. You fly there, you park your plane there, and then you fly back again, right? Hub and spoke is just you go, come back, go, come back, go, come back. So it's basically low cost airlines based on that, because you save on, for example, parking fees. You save on you maximize utility of your employees, because
so it's the same crew going, coming
same
back.
crew, one day maybe. Maximize out of 3 flights versus a long haul, 1 crew, 1 day, spend 1 day there and fly back. So the ROI is higher. Yeah. So and you do quick turnarounds. So basically it was just that, like basically, okay, how many kilometers from here, and what's the the average seat per kilometer, how much fuel, and how much could you charge, and things like that. So I just put it all in the model.
So at that point, before Asia was Asia, did it seem like a crazy idea?
No.
Tony seemed like a crazy person?
No.
Because of the reference to like Ryanair and whatnot? Or
one thing about Tony, right? He deserves every single success that he had. Okay? Not because he's smart, of course, but it's not because he's smart, but because he sees certain things. He sees it. He sees the opportunity. Okay? And he has the courage to go for it. So it's one thing to know something. I mean, intelligence-wise, and what we can see. Oh, we see a potential here. Blah blah blah. Okay, we see it. But very few will take it to the next step, which requires courage to actually do it. So that to me, when we were sitting down and talking about it, and it's like, James, and I thought, yes, this can change it. That's a clear
So the numbers
unaddressed
didn't lie for you. I mean, usually they say the accountant is the conservative one. So for you, even looking at the numbers, it made a lot of sense. I mean, usually the accountant is the first to say no, right? The sales guy is like, yeah, we can do it.
Okay, there are two things, right?
Right.
One is a market need. Okay. And the next one would be pricing and ROI, or return on investment, profitability, and all that. If there's a market need, that means there will be people willing to pay for it.
Okay.
Okay? It's a question of how much you can charge in order to achieve the profitability that you require.
Okay.
And when you look at it, right, back then, if you look at it, because there was no low-cost airline, right, it's like, the first question is this: if you can make it affordable people to fly, okay, below a certain amount, do you think people will fly?
No, because I think why I feel it's a very interesting question is because there was no market in this side of the world at that point.
There was no provider.
Yeah, but in a sense, the market didn't know that they wanted to fly, right? In a sense, so how did they convince investors and all to?
Because in UK there was already Ryanair, low cost airlines, so the predisposition of people to want to travel and to fly and all that, it wasn't addressed in Southeast Asia, right? And you look at the population here, right? I mean, flying to Jakarta and back, flying to Manila and back, or flying to Bangkok and back. Do you think people would want to? And with the amount of people in this region, I think there was a very, very clear market segment. It's just that Tony saw it and he went for it, and I thought it was brilliant, and that's why I say it deserves all the.
Oh, it turned out well. I mean, Asia is.
It is fundamentally changed Asia. Okay, how now? You talk about impact, right? Okay, not talking about Tan Sri or making how much money and all that. The impact of what he has done, has fundamentally changed how people live, okay, and how people work and travel in Asia. He has changed that. It's just like fundamentally, Apple has changed how people interact with the phone, right? There are certain things that fundamentally changes things. So and I think Air Asia has done well in the sense, even if it's definitely going through tough times now or whatever, and I'm not being a chest beater or supporter or what, right? But even if the worst should happen or whatever like that,
they can come out of it.
It has changed things fundamentally forever. Now
regardless of what happens.
Regardless, there'll always be a need right now because we have tasted it. We
Yeah.
have tasted it.
Absolutely.
So we will not say, you know what, we're not going to travel anymore. We're going to sit down. No, there are so many people that are dying to open up the borders, right? And if we didn't have low-cost airlines, I don't think that this would be.
No, I mean, absolutely. I think most people traveling before Asia was, dare I say, middle upper class experience. And if you're flying, you're usually flying to London and all that, and it is a privilege of the affluent in the sense that, and making flying affordable everyone, not just like families but individuals and all that. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of changed the landscape on that. And speaking about and I think traveling, I think that's been kind of a constant theme with your life, right? I mean, I don't stalk you on Facebook, but I see like posts like, oh, he's in Japan, he's spending some time there, and he's doing this and doing that. You seem to be,
I'm a lucky guy.
Okay. And how does so now when we say like the new normal of not being able to travel as much and move as much, how has that impacted you? Or I think not to say I think, but you're also Zafigo, or you're on
Zafigo, yes.
Zafigo, right?
Yeah.
And which is maybe you better tell me what it is instead of me butchering it. Yeah.
Oh well, Zafigo is a platform to help inspire women through independent travel and inspire them to gain self-confidence, to realize their own true potential, and through independent travel. And it was it's an idea that Datin Paduka Marina Made shared with me maybe 6 years ago. I sat down over coffee, and she said there was not enough information out there to help women travel better and safer. Or basically just because a lot of information out there is skewed towards either men or general, that from a woman's perspective is missing. And that's how it started. So I helped Marina set up a team, and in fact it's been 6 years, and in between we've expanded it from an online portal to an on-ground event with the same objective, because it's 360, basically online inspiration and offline meeting really courageous and inspirational women from all over the world. So we expanded that to Zafigo X, which is the Zafigo experience on ground.
Okay.
And recently with the COVID, pivoted a bit to start Hello Zafigo, which is basically Zoom sessions talking to we spoke to Yuna, we spoke to Tony Fernandez, we spoke to a lot of people, about their views on travel, and also sharing their life experiences. Women and all that. So yeah, so that's on Zafigo, and actually after 6 years, and I'm moving on.
Wow.
So my my official last day is end of September.
Wow.
But the team is, I mean, Marina is hands-on, and the team is doing really well. A bunch of really smart and capable women handling it right now.
So if you don't mind me asking a silly question,
yes,
which I'm very good at, right?
Hey, come on, man. If you don't mind a silly answer.
Yeah, always. I always tell people, if you ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer, right? So if you ask a silly question, silly answer is
My
perfectly
answer's
all right.
always silly, dude.
I think in the sense that it is a platform you're mentioning to kind of empower women to travel, right? And
through travel,
empowerment through travel, right? And so this is a question that I've wondered about. It's not something I don't have strong opinions on this. I wondered about you being a man driving this. Does it have any kind of impact in the sense that, is it because so much so we have seen, you can get like, oh, we don't want men telling a woman how she should be, blah blah. I mean, I don't necessarily subscribe to that thought, but if it is a platform to kind of empower women through travel, and if you are with the rest championing it, does that have an impact, or it's you being a man championing this?
I never thought, okay, so if it's a good idea, it's something helpful. I mean, let's face it, we are men, right?
Yeah.
And we are born with privileges that women don't have, whether we admit it or not. Of course, women have privileges too, but when it comes to certain things, we are born privileged just because we are male. I can walk down the street right now in Barcelona, for example, or even and not get accosted. Okay, I don't think any woman will put drugs into my drink. And
well, James, you're selling yourself short here.
Whatever, man.
No, yeah, but joking aside,
or I'm being told that no, you just sit at home and do this. Come on, just do your duty, and don't do all this. You're not being told all this, and so I mean, it's just like a simple thing, like at night if I'm walking down the road, right? I don't need to look left and look right and all that as much.
Mhm.
You know, I don't get catcalled. I don't get so. Anyways, putting that aside, it was a privilege. It's been a privilege working with Marina and the team because I'll turn it the other way, right? The fact that that Marina and the team accepted me as part of Zafigo and all the speakers and I work with was because they saw me beyond my gender. They saw how I could possibly be of help or be of what without thinking, he's a man, he wouldn't get this, right? They offered me the chance to a peek into the world, into the mindset and also some of the challenges and amazing things that women have done. And it was a real privilege. They never the team and the people I work with never looked at me and say that he's a man, he doesn't know. You know, they never did that. So for me, I came in very much from the strategic angle and what we need to do to achieve certain things and what we need to launch and how to do it and all this kind of stuff. But when it comes to what mattered to women, what was important to women and how to inspire and support women, that didn't come from me. I was a learner. I was a student. Okay, so I did not lead that. I just worked at making sure that could be communicated. So that in that sense, it didn't come from a man. All these things didn't come from a man, as people might say it. I was just behind it, making sure that the house could be as in order as much as it can be, and that the messages that the team, that Marina and women resonated with were communicated and shared in the best way possible.
Yeah, I think why I ask you the questions also is because this is something that fascinates me. I grew up in a household where my mom was a breadwinner, and my sister and my mom were my sister is as early as teens, she was working and making money, helping my mom and all that. So I grew up in a house where women were not weak per se, right? So for me, I kind of assume that all women are strong, powerful, capable people, right? And to a certain extent, deep down, I even believe that most women can probably kick our ass if given the opportunity,
absolutely.
Right? But even coming from that,
they kick the world's ass as being a prime minister.
You can't complain.
Okay.
But even coming from that background, right, saying that I do believe that women are so empowered, but the idea of even traveling alone for a woman, even I worry, because it is not so much that I don't think you're empowered. It's an external factor, like you're saying. It's not that you are not capable of protecting yourself per se, but what if because
that the biggest this is a line again. The biggest barrier to women traveling independently is men.
I
okay,
don't doubt
all right.
that.
So it's not that men are generally are trying to be bad or whatever, but there's a culture baked in, right? And because of that, it's harder for women to go and explore the world as compared to us. So what do? Do you say, because there are assholes out there, all right? And men, not men like me, but bad men, you stay at home. You don't do this. You don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we protect you. Okay, whatever. And that's part one. Part two is how another way is how can you then, knowing that this set of circumstances exists, give women the relevant tools to still be able to do it, but do it safely, and enjoy the travels more, and do it better. How can we do that? Do we tell them to stop, or do we give them the tools to help them do the same that
Mm.
men can do, taking into account that they are facing more challenges than us men. So Zafigo is about the second route. It's not
Mm.
telling you not to do it, but do it, but know the fact that
Yeah.
at the same time, uh, 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 um, hopefully also to basically, it's hard, but hopefully also to get more men out there
Mm.
to be allies, to realize that the biggest one of the biggest stumbling blocks to women, career wise,
Mm.
travel wise, or whatever, is actually some men.
Mm.
Okay, and one of the best ways, perhaps, to deal with these men is other men.
Mm. To
You
address
know,
the problem.
yeah, to address the problem. You know,
Mm.
right? Like to be allies. You know, to be there. And that I think is the message that that Zafigo is about. It comes from Safe I Go. So the idea
Mm.
is go out there. And why travel, right? Why independent travel? Because you've traveled on your own before?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
mostly for work and so on.
Mm-mm.
Not like, globetrotting as
Mm.
such.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the idea is whenever you travel,
Mm.
on your own especially, that's when you actually come out from your comfort zone.
Mm.
You realize what you could do that you couldn't do before,
Mm.
or you grow as a person.
Mm.
You become, you get exposed to more cultures.
I can
You
see that.
Yeah,
I can
and
see that.
you're experiencing the world at your own pace, at your own time, not
Mm.
because somebody. So when you travel like this, there's a lot of it pushes, it makes you realize, if I can do this, there's a lot more that I can do.
Mm.
Right? I mean, I didn't start traveling until maybe about 20 years ago, right? And it has changed me, and it has humbled me, because it's like, just because you think you know everything,
Mm.
once you go out there, it's like, my God, you're so small, right? Number one. Number two is like, oh my God, I'm stuck here. What am I going to do? Do I reach out to people and make new friends? Do I hide away, or I have to do something on my own? Or how do I communicate with someone who doesn't even speak my language? How do I find my way
Mm.
around this place? You become resourceful. You become more aware of what's around you, and you become a lot more. You have a lot more empathy, because you when you go to a country and their culture is different from you, there has to be respect, and then you want to
Mm.
know why certain things,
Do you
and all
think
that.
men and women, when they travel alone, they travel very differently? I mean, in the sense that, do you think men who travel alone per se have a better appreciation for travel, to the extent that they have a better appreciation in supporting, whether it's a sister or wife or friend who wants to travel on her own? I'm trying to see whether the ignorance is, like, for me, if I've not traveled for leisure alone, and if, to say, my wife says she wants to travel alone, I'm just thinking to myself, would I be in a better position to relate if I had an experience of traveling alone? And in a way, I felt like, hey, yeah, this is really cool and empowering, and
That's
you should try it.
that's
Or,
a good question.
because I would think it's very rare for men to travel alone. Usually it's with friends, or you're going to meet friends. It's I think the realization that you have to go and discover, it's not very common. I mean, I would like to think it's common, but I just think, men are like pack animals, right? We go with friends, go to meet friends, or we go with family, but it's very rare where, like I think we said earlier, that we are not so much in touch with our emotions, right? Kind of like, to be just you, kind of exploring a new place. I think that's a level of kind of maturity that maybe not all men have. And I don't know whether maybe pushing men to also travel alone will help them better. I don't know. Empower.
I honestly, that's a good question, and I don't have the answer. I don't know. I don't know, honestly. I know it has helped me
Mhm.
realize, to grow,
Mhm.
okay, and and help me like, wow, there's so much out there. And every time I meet somebody or meet people that entirely different, like for example, I was in very quick example, yeah. I was in Greece, okay, visit, and I was traveling to okay, sorry, I was in Athens, okay. So Athens, and I wasn't alone, I was with my girlfriend, so we were traveling. But I went down to the pantry. I stayed in a hostel. I don't really like to stay in hotels, because I like to meet people and get to know other travelers too, if I can. And I was in the kitchen, and I was gonna make my 3-in-1 coffee, you know. So and this guy was there, and he didn't speak English, so I mentioned, say, how are you, and he was making that, and then little words like, oh, where you from, and all that. And somehow he doesn't speak English, except very much, and me, who couldn't speak Syrian, okay. And the story came out, he's basically from Aleppo, and he used to run a restaurant there. The front reached his restaurant, everything got bombed out. His wife and his daughters, he showed me his photo, he took it out and showed that it's my family, was in Canada, if I'm not mistaken, and he was in Athens waiting for a connecting flight, because he's a refugee and waiting for that. And he showed me photos, he showed me what happened and all that. And suddenly, what happened in Syria, it's like this guy is there, right? And then you realize, I sit there and realize, number one, I don't know how, but I actually could communicate. We could communicate through, even though our language was different, our culture different, our backgrounds were different. But also the fact that, my God, how lucky I am. You know?
Like this thing that is everything to him, we don't even think about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, take it for granted.
I'm there to travel. He's there because he's running away from war
and trying to get together with
his family.
That's insane.
Yeah, and these kind of experiences, to me, make it all worthwhile, because it just like, you know, you don't know how lucky you are living in Malaysia, where you know, you complain lah, this and that lah, but hey, there's no bombing, man, there's no war, man, there's no earthquake, you know.
Absolutely.
So you're not persecuted because of whatever. So it really humbles you in a lot of ways, in the sense that we tend to look at people, oh, that guy's got a big car, he's got big, but we don't look at the 90% who has less than us. Yeah. So and that's the biggest impact on travel for me, for example.
Yeah. I think even I think it'd be unjustified for me not to add, when right before me and my wife got married, we moved in together, and she actually took a hiatus from work, and she went backpacking alone, and to again, a caveman's mind like mine, it was something very hard for me to. I had to force myself to not comment. Like, I believe that, look, you're a powerful woman, you're a strong woman. I do have my worries, but you know what? And you know, I think it's an experience that she cherishes. That 1 month she spent backpacking across Europe and all that. It's and I do agree to a sense. It's very important for people to have those individual experiences. I hope more men do it. I hope maybe someday I do it, like go and travel on my own. Maybe, but you know, it's interesting.
It's different, yeah. The traveler and doing a tourist thing are two different things.
Yes. And I'm talking about the you know, that
the travel,
like going and experiencing and, you know, living in a place for more than just a couple of nights. You know,
not just a selfie by the Eiffel Tower and then.
I mean, I've done all those, right? So that's why I say, like, for me, those don't count. Like, it's not the same thing. You know, if you're going, you know, doing something touristic is not the same as really traveling. You know, like kind of getting to know a city and all that. And I don't have a drive to do it, right? But it is something fascinating that maybe one day I might embark, right? But from talking to people like you and talking to people like my wife who have done it, it's like a memory that they cherish so much, right? So
Is
yeah.
it because you feel that you're not interested? Are you a bit afraid or like sort of uncomfortable?
Um,
Yeah,
if
I'm grilling
I've
you.
thought, no, yeah, no, I've actually thought about it, and when I look back and on all the instances where I've actually traveled, it's always been for work. A friend forces me to, or my wife forces me to, or the ex forces me to, right? So by default, I've not actually woken up and said, you know what, today I
You've
want to
not
go.
done it for yourself in a
Yeah,
way.
and believe it or not, I don't have that feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it's based on a fear. I don't know,
Mm-mm.
but I suspect that I'm so focused on other aspects
Mm-mm.
of my life, and I keep telling myself that once I fix this, I'm gonna do that. So I've told my wife, I've painted these fantasies where let me get this sorted out. Let me when we if I get an exit on this, blah blah blah, we'll get like a nice place in one of these Southeast Asian islands, and we can have like a holiday home there. Maybe I joke that I'll just disappear for a year there. Maybe I'll open up a bar there and all that. But
Hey,
it's
call me. I'll join you, man.
yeah, but I
Yeah.
think it's like very willful thinking fantasy. I don't know how serious. It's a nice idea. I mean, it's an amazing idea to go to Koh Lanta and open up a bar. It's not going to cost you a lot.
Ah.
And I kind of just experience that, right? But I don't know whether it's in me to do it. And to be honest, I don't know whether it's fear.
Mm-mm.
It might be. Or maybe,
You just don't feel the drive. There's no
yeah,
need to do it.
yeah,
Or
not yet.
Mm.
I'm not close to it. I'm hoping one day it'll kick in. My wife will be super happy if the drive comes in.
So just a segue, right?
Mm,
So let's say if you think that, let's say, traveling alone
mm,
to a certain destination is either gonna be beneficial to you because you learn something, or at the very least you realize you'll be bored out of your mind.
mm.
This is not what you want, and all this kind of stuff. It's two ways, right? Okay, but either or, it is something. Do you think it's valuable as an experience?
I think if you would ask me this question 10 years ago,
Uh-huh.
I would say travel is overrated.
Mm-hmm.
But if you would ask me this today, um, I think it's important. I think it's extremely valuable because it's a window into a different way of life. So it's like the ultimate way of smashing all the assumptions, right? Like I went to Vietnam, to the northern part, to Hanoi, and to this. It's almost like a village to Taiwan, further up north, because I had a developers building some tech stuff for me there, and that broke all my assumptions on what I thought like a city is, right? And when I compare them, when I draw comparison to Malaysia, these guys in Hanoi, they generally wake up early. The sun comes up early anyway. I mean, their timing is different. I know they're up, they have super healthy breakfast early on. They go to work, they're very efficient. They end work. There's no such thing as working late. The whole concept of working late doesn't really exist there. They cut off at 5:30. They're very efficient. They go have a very early dinner, very healthy dinner, and they spend a lot of time with each other. Coffee is important because it's like their social. And it's a very young, smart population, and it kind of like it's totally not what KL is, so to speak, right? We have like, and I think traveling allows you to kind of like break all the assumptions that you have of, oh, this is my life or my lifestyle, or this is way we go about our days, to see a way a whole different group of people do it, and you realize like, oh, cool, like things can be the other way, and it can all still work out great.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important. I think that showing that things can be different but still great. I think that's like that.
Flavors, man.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
achieving the same thing. I mean, if you want a good life, there are so many different ways to reach it. It's what resonates with you the most, right? But there's one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
So traveling and seeing that is fantastic. You're right. Okay. One another thing, that if you should
Mm-hmm.
attempt to travel on your own,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you will find that you spend a lot of time reflecting,
Mm.
and that, I tell you, is one of the best things out there, because it's how it's like you date your wife, right?
Mm.
Okay, and spend time with your friends and all that. how much time do you actually spend dating yourself?
Mm.
Like actually talking to yourself, like, hey, I'm an idiot. No, you're not. Okay, what do I really want? I don't know. Am I doing the right thing? Why are you asking yourself? What would you like to be? These conversations, okay, if you're alone and you're not just trying to pick up girls all over the world, right? Which apparently a lot of people think that that's why you travel. It's like,
Rumors, fake
dude,
news.
you know, we have a lot of spas in KL if you want to do that, okay? So, but it also gives you that time, that really time to sit down, and especially you're sitting down somewhere and you're just ruminating and you're thinking, wow, this is this, and you start having, you are not distracted because when we are doing our everyday thing, okay, one of the things that keep happening is we're always distracting ourselves, okay, and we have too much work, we have family, we have this, and then we have social media, we have Netflix and all this kind of stuff, right? So there's always something to distract ourselves with. And when we get a chance to be alone in a foreign city and just soaking it all in, and you can be more present where you are, and that's when you start thinking, you start evaluating. Some people call it soul searching, and I don't think it's soul searching. I think it's just understanding yourself. We should be doing that all the time, you know, and not just at specific.
No, actually, the thought that was going in my head when you were saying that was that can we do that as we are where we are at home and all that? But I think what you also followed up with is that if it's part of a routine and if it's not something that gets us out of our comfort zone, then it doesn't quite get us to the. We need to be out of our comfort zone to start thinking a certain way, right? Or at least start questioning certain things.
Also not to be distracted, because basically whenever we are, I mean, I'm fortunate enough, I guess, we are fortunate enough in a way though that we don't, or I would say we are different, not fortunate, to not have a 9 to 5 on a Monday to Friday, right? But when you have that, and when you have that, it's very hard not to get, because you have to focus on your work. After you come back, you have dinner with your friends, you have drinks with your buddies, and then your family got to go back to your kids, to your wife and all that, and then got deadlines to meet, and boom, 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 right? You neglect yourself all the time. And, I mean, we'll go to the gym and all that, but mentally we tend to neglect ourselves all the time. And then the weekend comes, and
it's a reset and everything just.
Yeah, so then it becomes a schedule. Unless we're disciplined enough to say, hey, you know what? Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm just gonna go somewhere there's nobody around me. I'm not gonna get distracted. I switch off my phone. I do this. No emails, no calls. I gotta tell my wife, "Bub, hello, you go and do your." I gotta leave my kids somewhere. I have my alone time. Unless you're disciplined enough to do that,
you do hear those stories of like this this weird CEOs, not weird, maybe a bit eccentric CEOs who have these habits, their keys to success or what they need to do, and we always look at it as like something that's not so normal, but it sounds like it should be something that we should be endearing to in that sense. And to that point, and I say this knowing that we cannot complete this conversation because I do know you have to go, is to the point that maybe it's a precursor to another conversation that we can have, is the fact that one of the things that I realize also is the things that you have said now, because of COVID, with all this time that we have not being able to do all these activities, even the simple as going to the store or going to work even, right? I do believe a lot of people are beginning to kind of reflect, because they have just so much time. And I don't know if all of it is a good reflection or bad reflection. You hear weird statistics like, fights and going up, and, the worst is abuse going up as well and all that. So I think it'll be interesting to talk about the reality of COVID and how we're operating on that. But maybe that's a topic for another day. Because I've taken up a no,
it's been amazing. Dude, seriously, it's been amazing. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope I sometimes I come across, I know I can come across as overbearing and all this kind of stuff, and
Not yet.
just spewing a lot of rubbish. But at least you this is a nice opportunity. I mean, an opportunity to share. You know, some of these things that I wonder too, because yeah. And on that note, before I just want to leave this. He may not be the most popular guy right now, or he's kind of quiet at the moment, but at one point in time he was getting a lot of flack. Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Oh,
Okay, so
interesting character.
yeah, interesting character.
Mm.
And he had a book called 12 Rules of Life, right?
Yeah.
And I think they're really good points in different
Okay.
ways and all that. But one of the points that resonate with me the most is essentially, I'm paraphrasing, but treat yourself the same way you would treat someone that you care about and love. That you would treat, like if you would give your wife a certain time, let's say, go dating, spend some time with her, spend some time with your friends and all that. Treat yourself the same way, not less and not more, but at least equal amount. And then that's when I realized, okay, it's like, no, I haven't been treating myself. I mean, I always gave time for people. I mean, it's like, oh, let's go on and all that, right? Okay. Oh, I'll talk to you if you're down, or I'll spend some time or get some stuff for you and whatever like that. And then we do. But sometimes we just have to spend some time with ourselves and just talk to ourselves like where, I mean, like, just, hey, are you happy now? Are you in a good place? Why do you think you're not in a good place? Or is there anything you want to be able to do but you're not doing now? Do you have any, if you're sad, what is making you sad? These conversations are missing. But if it was a friend, if someone calls you, I'm kind of down. Can how about we go and grab some teh tarik? He said, dude, I'm here. I'll pick you up. We go. But we don't do that for ourselves. We just switch on TV, Netflix, and drink ourselves away or whatever like that.
I think a parallel thought, it is not the same, but I think a parallel thought that me and my wife kind of agree on is that we have this thing where we say that, I don't know whether I forced it onto her or she forced it onto me, but it's like it's an understanding that we have that there's no such thing as we're going to make each other happy. Like in the sense that we say that, you got to be happy as a person, as yourself, and I've got to be happy as a person, as myself, and then there's a chance of us being happy together. But if your expectation is that, I'm going to come into your life, or she's going to come into my life, and she's going to magically make it happy, it's not going to happen, because your happiness is on you. Like, your happiness is on you. And I think to that extent, that is where the, understanding that, this traveling or globetrotting and traveling is something she needs to do for herself. And it's got nothing to do with me, my insecurities or whatever, right? It's something that she's got to do for herself. And to a certain extent, she gives me a lot of that leeway when it comes to whatever I want to do, whether it's work and all that. She gives me a lot of the leeway to also, this is for you, and it might not make sense for us, but it's for you. And I think that kind of resonates with what you're saying, with what Jordan Peterson is saying.
Yeah. And to add on to that, okay, if you're not happy with yourself, let's face it, you won't be able to really make someone else happy.
Or I can probably say with a certainty, you'll probably make them unhappy.
Yeah, because it's like, if you're unhappy, I'm just trying to make you happy, but your whole vibe is down, right? So in a parallel is, if you really don't care for yourself, you can't really care for anybody else. It's like a 1-step, 2-step thing, right? You got to get your house in order before you can actually do things well outside. And similarly, if you don't really care about your own peace of mind or happiness, you're just going to be sulking all the way, and you think that's going to help other people happy? No way, man.
Probably not.
And if you're already unhappy and you're looking for someone to fill that hole, that's never gonna work. It's not love, it's need, it's neediness, it's looking for a bandage. Like it's not.
Sounds like a lot of marriages. So
Oh, sorry, man. I didn't mean to because
no. But I think it is a very important point, and you're absolutely right. I think it's probably area where I can probably be, do more to kind of understand, to kind of self-reflect. I think I self-reflect, but it's definitely not enough. I mean, and yeah, maybe we all can do a little bit more, introverted thinking. Oh, it's not internal thinking or introverted.
Don't
It's internal.
I mean, spending it out, not all the time in the head, but at least give some time
But
to.
I think now it's like a golden time, man. Like
Exactly like we were talking before this, right?
Mhm.
Okay, during MCO, it's like you're saying, what am I gonna, In
Yeah.
a way, you were doing that already, and look
Yeah.
where it got you.
Yeah.
If you were distracted, you wouldn't have looked at, oh, I want to start a podcast. This is important to me to foster more conversations that are civil and share my without and all that. This is important to me, and I want to do it. And then you got it done, right? So in a way, you were already doing it a bit because MCO forced you to.
Man,
It forced us to,
boredom,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it
To a lot
forced
of
us
extent,
to.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think and in a way you listen to what you want to do, and here we are today. So
Yeah, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
dude, thank you for having me.
And we definitely have to do this again. I promise you, the next one I will have the whiskey ready.
Oh,
Okay,
and I promise the next one I'll try to do better because this is my
what?
first time.
No,
Anyway, man.
no. It's my second time. So don't worry. The bar
Okay.
is not very high on this.
Okay,
yet.
I know I was meandering and all this kind of stuff. Just too many thoughts, So yeah.
But I think, I mean, not to, but I think, just to be clear, I mean, we are not establishing ourselves as any type of expert or subject
No,
matter
we're not,
expert.
man.
But I think the humanity is that we are all people living our own experiences, and it's important for us to kind of like hear those stories.
Yeah, and sometimes these things don't work for us. But I like a lot of things I shared earlier. I mean, I think it worked for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is super important to get those kind of like experiences and stories out, whether it's something that you want to do or don't want to do, and I hope people, who are listening in would consider traveling, I think that's like a really cool, it's something that even I'm considering now. I don't know whether my wife, now that we have a son, I don't know whether my wife will be too happy.
You ask her how it changed her, and then you say that if it was positive, is how much is that positive improvement or gain worth to? Is it worth to me enough for me to just go and try it?
Well, she came back and we got married, so
Okay.
maybe it was it was great.
So she was reflecting. I've got like 10 other choices out there. Which one is the best? All right.
So she's visiting all the boyfriends in all the countries. Oh man, maybe I do not want to have the conversation with her.
Hey, and what matters is not how many. Is she chose you.
Yeah, man.
At the end of the day, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, the story of how she got this all done is the story for another day. We'll
Yes.
definitely talk about it.
Yes.
But thanks, man. Thanks a lot for doing this.
You're welcome. I must say also. I mean, that I don't know what that the rest. I hope. I mean, I've never really said. Like, I mean, we've talked like this with friends, but and I don't know how it's gonna. I do have a bit of like uncertainty of like what people are gonna say when you put it out. But you know what?
No, I think the
Fuck it, man.
Yeah.
You can bleep that out, right? So
No, I think we'll leave it in. I think there's a explicit marker for the podcast. But I think it's important, even if it's not like a huge success. I think it's important that people hear the conversations and they allow themselves to converse openly. I think it's just like if we can do this, we can have open, honest, unfiltered conversations.
risk being seen as pretentious assholes.
And being called out on it.
Yes.
And having to respond on it. I think that's okay.
No, you respond. I'll just hide away.
I will tag you.
Oh God, there's no escape. Okay.
Yeah. So
Alright.
I think I would like to do this again.
Yes,
But,
let's do this
let's
again.
find some other
Even
time.
if it's not recording, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's like We
Most
should catch up.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think half the podcast was not recorded anyway. So
Imagine if there was whiskey. It shouldn't be recorded.
yeah, I will be getting calls tomorrow. Hey, you really gonna upload this?
You can switch whiskey to Ribena.
We can say that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's the same color, right? So I think we'll end it here.
Okay, thank you very much.
And thanks for coming.
Hey, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. So,
All right.
yeah, just don't tag me. Don't let me know when it's online. I just want to hide away, okay?
It'll be on Spotify. So if you're listening to music, you might hear it. I don't know.
We'll have like 2 people listening to it, you and me. And
I
that's
think
fine.
I think I'm aiming for 8. 8
It is
is
a good
supposed to be a lucky number.
Yeah.
Yeah.